Okay, sixth grade. Nice to see you again. It's been a little while since we had a introductory type video, an introduction to a unit. Good job finishing off your cities. We are done with perspective until you go to seventh or eighth grade art and you do it over there at the junior high. But I think you all did a lovely job. We are going to be moving on to something that will probably take us till very close to the end of the year. We'll have just enough time at the very tail end to do our clay or sculpture unit. My friends at home, hopefully you will be getting some communication from me about that soon. But we have something to do before then. We're going to be looking at the work of an artist, and his most famous work, or one of them, I guess, has to do with eyes, and that's the one that we're going to be looking at. He frequently used clouds to be the iris section or the colored section of eyes when he would draw them, and he came back to that idea of the blue sky with white clouds a lot. For us, we are still going to be interpreting eyes, and I'm going to leave that interpretation of it up to you, whether you decorate the inside or the outside, but regardless, you need to know how to draw an eye. So, today, I'm going to teach you how to draw a human eye, because I feel like that's where a lot of you are going to start, and it's also a really good thing to know. Okay, in our sketchbook. Oh, we already did that, and this, and a bunch of these other things too. Okay, here we go. In your sketchbook, we are going to do an eye. Okay, I'm going to draw mine enormous so that you can see what I'm doing. However, on your page, dun, 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 I want you to divide it up into 4 corners. So this is your page, and this is my page. On your page, this first box is going to be with Mrs. D. Okay, and then these other 3 are going to be on your own. Now, so without further ado, here is how you draw an eye. There are 10 parts to an eye, and you don't have to write these down, but they are really 10. But they are really good things to know. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, 9, and 10 are all something separate, but they're all considered part of the eye. Step 1 is the upper lid line. Okay. Most people, when they start drawing an eye, they draw like a circle and put a dot in it. And they're like, it's an eye. Or they make that football shape and put a dot in it. Oh, it's an eye. Like, these are okay, but that upper lid line is not, it's most certainly not like that. And it is not perfectly football shaped either. It is different for every individual, but in general, most human beings, the side that is closer to the nose has a flattened out section to it. So we're going to, just for argument's sake, we're going to put your nose right here. Okay. And this flattened out shape, the side of your nose, it goes up and it becomes like where your eyebrow is and stuff on your face. But because of this line right here, the opening of your eye starts with that too. So I'm going to draw a diagonal line, and then I'm going to curve across. Now, this eye is enormous. And I'm going to erase all this nonsense over here. I just wanted you to know what I was doing. Diagonal line, strike across. Okay. Number 2 is the lower lid line. These lines are also where your eyelashes are attached. It is the sections that move. You have 2 eyelids, but only one of them blinks, right? Your lower eyelid does move a little bit, but it is not near as mobile as the upper eyelid. Okay. Number 3 is your lid fold. Okay, a lid fold is where all that extra skin goes. So like if your eye is closed, there's enough skin there to cover up the whole eye opening. But when you open your eye, where does the skin go? Well, it kind of folds back up into your head, which is sort of gross, but that you can see where it does it. It happens just here above your eyelid. And because it is a fold, because it is going back into your head, there's also a little bit of a shadow here. So I like to add that in. And there's also a little bit of a shadow here. Now, is this eye shadow? No. Is it makeup? No. It is just shading. It is just where the light can't get to it, so there's darkness, right? Is it black? No. It is just darker. It is some shade of gray, so I like to put that in. Okay. Number 4 is your tear duct. Okay, your tear duct is in the corner of your eye. It is always on the side next to your nose because your eyes are reflective of one another. It is where like the crusties gather in the morning, and it's right here. And you kind of put a little like C right there on the inside, and then you also kind of put a little C here. Well, there's a C on the right, there's a C on the left, and this typically is pink. It's not white. So I like to shade it in so you can see it. Okay, but this thing is like a sponge, and when you cry and you like squeeze your eyes shut, this little sponge gets squeezed, and same thing like with a kitchen sponge, all the water comes out when you squeeze it. Okay, so the water comes out and it like trickles along this lower lid line, and then it would, you would tear down there. But again, I digress. Okay. Next is your iris. Okay. Your iris is the colored part of your eye. It is the section that is blue or brown or green, hazel, gray, whatever kind of color you want. Now, if you are looking at like a Halloween eyeball or an eye that is outside of its socket, outside of the skin of your face, yes, your iris is round and it's fairly large. But when it is inside of your eye, your iris is partially hidden. Your iris kind of sits on the lower lid line, and it gets cut off at the upper lid line, like that. Okay, so does this color actually dip below this line down here on the bottom? Yes, it does, ever so slightly, but we can't see that. So it is cut off at the top and cut off at the bottom, but it is large. Okay, there is only white on the right and on the left. If you can see white all the way across the bottom or all the way across the top, you have not made your iris big enough. Okay. Number 6, very important, is your pupil. Your pupil is that black dot in the center of your eye, and it's not actually a dot. It's not like a sticker. It's a hull. It is the edge of your iris. Your iris is a bunch of muscles, and they can move in and out. Okay, so your iris can be varying sizes, so try not to worry about it. I would not make it super duper tiny, nor would I make it as big as your eye, because those tend to look weird, but some sort of middle size is usually good. Many times artists will put a reflection right here in their eye, and then this whole section here is then black. So you can go ahead and shade in this section with your pencil. I would not like switch materials at this point. I would not say get a marker and make it black with black, black, black. It will look unrealistic when you change materials. Number 7 is the color of your eye. And I know some of you are like, wait a minute, Mrs. Dominic, you just made me the iris. That's the colored part. You just didn't color it in. Right, but there's detail in there. If you look super duper close into somebody's eye, ask first. It's a little confusing when you like stare in somebody's eyeball. It's a little unnerving. But ask first. But you will see a ton of lines through your iris. Or even if you look at an eye, um, even if you look at an eye like on the internet, you will see a ton of lines in there. And those lines are the muscles. Literally, those all of those lines are like the folds in the muscles. So that's sort of cool. Um, all right, so when I do color at an eye, first off, your eyebrow sort of acts like it kind of sticks out, and there's like a bone under there if you feel it, and it is the ridge. It's like an overhang, right? And it like blacks out the rain and stuff, but it also makes shadow. So I'm going to go right along my lid line again, and I'm going to make some shadow in this eye. Okay, you don't need a whole ton in the whites, but right along that line. You want to darken it some. And actually, right along the bottom here where the lid comes up, you could darken that some too. Anyway, so shadow, very important. It's going to help make your eyelid look like it's sitting on top of your eyeball on the inside. But the muscles in your eye, they sort of come out like the rays of the sun. So what I like to do is start on the outer edge and come into the middle and then go back out to that outer edge and just kind of do this all the way around. And I'm not filling it in. I have space in between all these lines, and I'm doing this rather large at the moment. But it does work. And then it's okay if there's some spots that are darker and some that are lighter. Typically around the edge of the iris it is a little bit darker. And then around this outer edge it's also a little bit darker. But again, like this is something that is a preference. I know some people who just go around it the one time and they're like, nope, that's plenty, I'm done. But it's up to you whether you do like the outer edge and the inner edge, or if you just go around it once. It's again a preference. So you can do more or you can do less. Totally up to you. Typically I will at this point go back and make my highlight more white. But there you go. Not bad, right? So now we have 8, 9, and 10. 8, 9, and 10 are all the hair that is associated with your eye. So 8 is your upper lashes. 9 is your lower lashes, because you do have lashes on the top and on the bottom. And 10 is your eyebrow. Okay, so upper lashes, let's start there. I like to start here where that diagonal line kind of stopped with that from that first upper lid line, because all of my lashes are going to be attached to this upper lid line. But I like to start there where the diagonal ends and the curve starts, and I will literally like follow that line. I'm not even pushing down, I'm just following it with my pencil, and then when I get to the end I'll like flick up, and I'll actually do it this way because that's how my wrist works. But follow along, flick up, follow along, flick up. And again, I'm making really long eyelashes. You can always make them shorter if you want. And I'm not putting in hundreds of them. And as I come across my eye, I am making them shorter and shorter and shorter. And over on this diagonal side, they're very small, and I change direction. And now for some of you who are like, no, you should have bazillions of eyelashes, you can come back in and like add more if you want to. But it's not really all that necessary. And it does, the only creature on earth I've ever seen with like eyelashes naturally thick like this are horses. But doesn't much matter. But yeah, so you can add your eyelashes. If you put a ton on like this, it'll typically look like a lady, even though men do have longer eyelashes than women in real life. But it's totally up to you how many you add. It's a personal preference. Okay, but they go up there on the top. Your lower lashes are even easier. They're like a comma. So you just come down to this bottom line and you add in a few lashes across. You don't need to add in all that many. They don't need to be long. You don't need to space them out. All that like regulated. And again, there's going to be more out here than there are in here, and that's normal. Okay, but those are like your lower lashes. Now, for your eyebrow, typically your eyebrow is about 2 fingers width above your eye, and in true art teacher fashion, I haven't done it quite right. So if you have plenty of room above your eye, that's 2 fingers above. Go right ahead and put your eyebrow above. I don't have him, so I'm going to put him below. But your eyebrow goes from your tear duct to the outside corner of your eye. It's about that wide. It goes all the way across your eye. They only look shorter if people groom them shorter. So this is the average length. Okay. There are weird things like unibrows. Some people have like crazy curly eyebrow hairs because their hair is really curly, and those people have to groom much more. But for the most part, the average individual has an eyebrow that goes from tear duct to the outside edge. Okay. When you draw an eyebrow, the eyebrow hairs at the tear duct end grow vertically, and the eyebrow hairs on the outside end grow horizontally. So when I do this, you could draw like a shape for an eyebrow, and be like, ooh, there's my eyebrow. But this doesn't look like hair. It looks like you took a piece of paper and taped it to your face, which I've done. It's fun. But basically, your hairs grow this way. They grow up and down. So when I draw in an eyebrow, I literally like go up and down and up and down. And then as I go across the eye, I will turn it so that the hairs turn and end up going that way. And like at first it sort of looks like a scribbly scrabbly mess, but you can always go back and like adjust. And so like those of you who are like, man, I want a really like groomed, perfect, curved eyebrow, like maybe you go get them waxed or something. You just use your eraser and then you can get that perfect curved line. Right? But it still has the appearance of hair. Gentlemen, this is most definitely a lady's eyebrow I've just drawn because it tapers out and gets thin at the end. A gentleman's eyebrow typically is a lot thicker, so yours is almost easier to do because you just like keep the scribble scrabble going, and then if it does look mildly like lumpy and stuff at the bottom, that doesn't much matter. Like, who knew that scribbling would come in handy, right? But like that's more of a man's eyebrow, whereas that's more of a lady's eyebrow with like this arch built in. Okay, but it doesn't really matter. But that is how you draw an eye, right? Upper lid, lower lid, lid fold, add a little shadow, tear duct, shade it in, iris gets cut off at the top, touches the lower lid on the bottom, pupil, black dot in the middle, Color, zigzag lines like the rays of the sun, right? In and out from the black pupil line to the outer iris line. Then you do your upper lashes, your lower lashes, and your eyebrow. And that's it. Okay? Practice. Make sure you got all 10 parts. If you forget to put like this shadow on the color of your eye, fine. If you forget to color in your pupil, that's okay. Things like that are okay, but you need to have all 10 parts. All right? Good luck. Practice lots. If you have questions, ask me. If you want my opinion on things, show it to me. I am here to help you. If you just can't seem to get the shape right for your eye, that is harder, but I do have a trick for that too. So, ask questions, get help, practice. And I'll see you next time. Bye.